Hey everybody, welcome to J Stern Designs. Today is an exciting episode of Cool Tools. I unwrapped the new SewTites Magnetic Cutting System during FabFit Friday last week because I couldn't wait to open it. I was so excited, but I wanted to do a proper unboxing, so I just unwrapped it and showed everybody the box on Friday. Now we're going to dive in and I'm going to show you how fantastic this is. I got to see this at a show and I was really impressed with it and I couldn't wait for it to come. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unbox it. You can see here it comes in this beautiful box. So if you're watching this and you own a store, your display is all set for you. It comes in a display-worthy box. The top of the box has a handle, so you can, it's a carrying handle, so you can carry your magnetic cutting system in this box if you're traveling around. And it's just a beautiful presentation before we even open it up. I do want to point out over here, if you want more information other than what I'm sharing with you, there is a QR code right on the front of the box that brings you to another video showing how to use this. So let's open it up. I did peel the tape away mostly before I came on because I didn't want to wreck the box, so I was very careful to, just sort of get the tape off ahead of time. And I'm just gonna turn this around. And I'm gonna open it up. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's open this up and see what's in the box. Okay, wow, look at how cool this is. This is the SewTites Magnetic Cutting System Owner's Kit. Let's look and see what's in here. Look how fancy that is. All right, let's see. This is the general use guidelines. So you're only going to use rotary cutters with this mat, and you want to change your blades often. Now that's a rule that I think applies to all cutting mats. You want to make sure that your rotary blade isn't nicked and having issues, because that will damage your fabric as well. You want to rotate and flip the mat occasionally, kind of like your mattress. Don't work in one area and overtax it when you have the whole space. Store in the provided box. Do not leave in a very hot or cold car. Things can warp. Any cutting mat can warp. Just be careful. It wipes clean with a cloth. Keep it flat. It's not going to roll. Oh, don't, it says don't, keep it flat. Don't try to roll this mat. It's magnetized. It's got 7 layers, so it's not going to roll. And if you do manage to roll it up, it probably won't unroll. So keep it flat, and also not for your iron. So again, there's a QR code if you want more information about that. There's a warranty. There's questions. And you want to be careful with those magnets and small children and animals. You don't want anybody eating or putting these things in your mouth, so keep them safe from your animals and your children. All right, so that would be our little owner's kit. Here are the booster magnets, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull these out of the foam. Oh, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll just pop them out like this. And then I'll get them out of the way. All right, let's put this down. All right, so we have 12 of these. These are the booster magnets, and I'm going to explain to you how to use those in a minute. But notice this. See how they stick to the cutting mat? Look how cool that is. All right, and then here would be the ruler. What's special about this ruler? This ruler has magnets in it as well. So if you're working with lightweight fabrics, you can use the ruler all by itself to help hold your fabric to the magnetic cutting mat. It has beveled edges on the ends to help you pick it up off of the cutting mat. So I'm just going to stick this to the side for a second. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just take out this mat, and then I can put the box down. All right, so let me just take the box and get it out of the way. Okay. Really nice box. All right, so now let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so this is probably 1/8 of an inch thick. It's double-sided. It has a dark and a light side. So let's see if this is the dark or light side. That would be the dark side. This would be the light side. Now notice this cutting mat grid is 20 by 24 inches. What does that mean to you quilters? It means a fat quarter will fit on this cutting mat, and you can see the edges to use your ruler. So they sized it a little extra big from a standard size mat so that it's very convenient for people who do quilting and deal with fat quarters. So that's exciting. There are 1/2 inch guidelines and inch guidelines, which are super helpful when you're using your ruler with fabric. And you know, a lot of times I'll be using the lines on my cutting mat to measure what I'm cutting widthwise. So it's got really nice inch and 1/2 inch markings that are very easy to see. And then also it has the 1/8 marks along the inch. So very nice grid. I like the fact that there's a light and dark side, because it, you know, depending on the fabric you're working with, it might be easier for you to see what you're doing on a darker background or a lighter background. I want to show you, I was worried a little bit about the ruler having magnets built in, because I thought to myself, well, how am I going to be able to move the ruler around on the cutting mat? But you can see I can easily slide it back and forth. So it's not so tight that it's hard to move. So that, I think, is a cool thing. So let's look at a piece of lightweight fabric, and I'm just going to stick it here. And you can see I can slide it on the fabric. I can lift it and pick it up. I can slide it around. I can pick it up and move it. But then notice, once it's down, see how it keeps my fabric nice and secure? This is going to be super helpful in so many different ways. And the first thing I want to show you here is I'm doing projects working on the bias. So I can see where cutting things out on the bias with this mat is going to be super helpful. Now, how am I going to use this mat when I'm working on the bias? Let's pretend this fabric, let's pretend this is the selvage edge of the fabric. One of the things about cutting on the bias is you need your fabric to stay nice and on grain. So I could use these boosters separately from the ruler, like this, to hold the edges of my fabric, and I can smooth it out. And I actually have these are my mini dress pattern pieces that I'm working with, and I'm actually going to be cutting out a sample of this dress in a 1/2 scale size to test the design of this bias dress. But what I want to show you here is, if you're working with something small, or even I could upend this and I could use the longer edge like this to cut out pieces as well. But notice how my fabric, I can get the grain to lay nicely, and then when I position my pattern pieces on the bias like this, everything will stay nice and secure. So notice Now I don't have to worry about my fabric sliding around, and I can cut it out. So I'm anticipating using these booster magnets to hold edges of my bias as I'm cutting bias projects out. So that's one of the things I'm going to be using it for. And I want to show you other things. So there are so many things. Let's say it's getting to be winter time and I want to work with some heavier fleece. If I want to cut strips of something on a heavier fabric, what's going to happen is you can see these magnets are not strong enough to hold this heavier fabric down. That's where these boosters come into play. So like, let's say I need 1-inch strips of this heavy fabric. I can put my boosters on, and then what's going to happen is now I can slide my ruler over and see how it's now secure. So I can just tip it up, slide it over. Let's say I want to make an inch cut. I'm going to stand up just to make it easier. But you can see I can just now get in there and easily cut my inch strip with the magnets holding that heavy fabric down. So that's how you use the boosters. So if you're working on something thick, add the boosters to your ruler. All right, so what else? I think working with knits, if you're cutting out knit strips, knits tend to stretch. So again, it's nice to have something, see how it holds it? You can't pull that knit out of the way. So that means wherever you position the ruler to cut your strips, this is going to be beautiful for cutting strips for neckline binding finishes, armhole finishes. You'll be able to cut through on this knit. You won't even need the boosters, right? So let's see here. I'm going to cut myself 1.5 inch strips of this knit. You can see how nicely it's holding. Like, I don't have to hold my ruler. That's the whole point. Like, I'm resting my hand on it, but I don't need to make sure the ruler is not slipping because the magnets are holding it for me in place. Like, I am literally just positioning it, and watch, I don't even really need to hold the ruler. So think about all the muscle power you're going to save by cutting your strips like that. All right, so it's going to be great for cutting out knit binding to finish edges. Going to love it for that. And, I mean, I could show you a variety of different things. I think you can see that to use it to cut things is going to be amazing. But what is my #1 passion? Pattern design and pattern drafting. So a lot of times I'm working with individual pieces. So for example, here is a dress pattern that I'm working on, and these are the pieces I used during FabFit Friday last week to show how I'm going to design my dress. Well, sometimes I want to see how things are going to look if they're actually attached. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut off one of my edges, and then what I can do here now is I can use this magnetic cutting system as a design board. So literally I can take my pieces, butt them up next to each other like this, and just use the boosters to hold them in place. So I can work within and I can design whatever shape it is I want to do. And for example, the dress I'm working on now has seams that go from front to back. So just to show you what I mean here, my neckline is here, and I can then extend my seam through the front and back while these booster magnets are holding it securely. The other cool thing is, you can see I'm using my SewTites brochure little booklet as my SewTites holder for now. you can use the regular SewTites on here as well. So if you run out of boosters and you need to hold something really secure and you need more than 12 magnets, they're compatible with the magnetic cutting mat as well. So you can see I'm going to be using this a lot as a design board when I'm cutting up pattern pieces and putting them back together. So if you're a pattern drafter or someone who likes to do pattern hacks, this is going to be amazing. You won't have to tape the pieces together or pin them together. You can just weight them on this board and use them to keep your pieces together so they don't slide. So I am super excited about this SewTites Magnetic Cutting System. I can't even begin to tell you. I think there's going to be so many things you're going to see me using this for in, upcoming months. To get you guys started, I'm going to be designing a storage, something to store my SewTites in and my boosters in. So it's going to be a little book made of felt pages, and I'm going to have the full instructions, the pattern, everything ready to go for next Monday. So I will share that with you next Monday, and I'll show you how to put together a really cool SewTites storage book, we'll call it, because it's going to be a book. It'll have a Velcro closure. It's going to be very cool. So join me next Monday for that, because I want to use this and show you how beneficial this is when you're actually working on a project. So I will get that together for next week. I'm super excited. I did get one other thing in the mail from SewTites. So why don't we open that up too? Let me just move my pattern pieces out of the way here. Let's see what else they sent me. All right, let me use this. Let me just cut it here. Oh, it looks like a tote bag or something. Let me see. All right, let's see what this is. Oh my goodness, what is this? Look, I'm so magnetic. Look at that. That is so cool. It's a carrying bag for the SewTites. Let's see how this works. All right, I'm going to scoop this out of the way, and I'm going to slide my cutting mat right in there. Let's slide it in. Well, isn't that fabulous? Oh, and then look at this other side over here. This is cool. There's a big pouch in the back. What do you think that's for? The ruler. And I think you could also stick little project pieces in there if you had project pieces. So look, the ruler fits right in there in the bottom. All right, this carrying pouch was such a nice surprise, and it's going to tie in beautifully with my SewTites felt booklet that I'm going to use to store all my magnets. I'll be able to put it in that pocket, and then everything will stay safe and sound. So join me next Monday for the tutorial showing how to make this little booklet. I'll have a link to the free pattern, so you'll be able to make it along with me. If you would like to pre-order one of these Sew Magnetic Cutting Systems, check the description below for my affiliate link, because you get 15% off your purchase. You also get 15% off any other SewTite magnet purchase as well. So definitely check that out if you're interested in this. I can tell you I'm going to be using the daylights out of this. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you love it. I know I love it, and I can't wait to show you all the different ways you can use this SewTite magnetic system. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you again soon.